Hello, Cameron. This is Mr. Gibson, and I saw that you sent me an email with this question here, so let's get right to it. It says, determine whether the function given by the table is linear, exponential, or neither. If the function is linear, find a linear function that models the data. If it is exponential, find an exponential function that models the data. Okay, as you see here, the one that you picked here, you picked this x here. This was the one that you picked where you said the function was linear, but it was actually exponential. So let's explore why it was exponential and not linear. So the first thing you have to do on your TI-84 calculator is to go to Stat and press Enter on Edit. Now your L1 would be your x value. So we had -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now we go here to the right to L2. We have 5 halves, 1, 2 fifths, 4 25ths. As you see, it converted it to a decimal, but this is the fractions. And then finally, 8 divided by 125. So now we have all our values in. Now what we would need to do is we need to zoom, go to zoom and go down to zoom stat so we could get a good look at the graph of these values. But first, before we do that, we need to press second and y equals and make sure that the number 1 plot is on. So if your plot is not on, you'll press enter and then enter again to turn on your plot. Okay, now we can go to zoom and then we can go to zoom stat and press enter. And then as you see, this is in the shape of an exponential regression. Basically, this is basically how an exponential regression goes. So now what we need to do is this here. We need to go and take a look at the model for it. So we could go to stat, go over to calculate, and we can go down to exponential regression and press enter until we calculate it. And then it gives us our exponential regression model here. Now, here's the thing. If you notice here with our R squared tells us as long as it gets close to +1 or -1, or if it's exactly +1 or -1, that lets us know that our graph is exact. And here, since R squared is +1, our graph is exact. Now, that would mean that it's definitely the exponential regression. But here's one other thing you need to notice as well. If you do not have your R squared and R on your calculator, I will show you that just in case you don't have it on there. You'll press second and 0. Then you will go here to this x to the -1 key and click on here. And you will go down to diagnostic on and press enter twice. And then that will give you the R squared and the R. So we'll go back to stat, we'll go to calculate, then we'll go to exponential regression. Now we calculated, we have R squared. Now, most of the times your R squared is not going to give you a perfect value. So let's look at the linear regression. So we'll go to stat, calculate, and go down to number 4, which is the linear regression. And as you see here, the R squared is less than 1 is 0.80. So typically, if it looks like one of the graphs, like an exponential or linear graph, then you will go with the one that has the higher R squared value. And in this case, it was the exponential regression. So we will go back here to the exponential regression, and then we can find out what our graph is based upon this information. Now, we know that A is 1, and then it's multiplied by, let me pull up a Word document real quick, see if we could get this going. Okay, so now, go to a blank document here. Now, looking at this calculator, we notice here that we have, so we will have y is equal to, now a is 1, so we'll have 1, and then we know the parenthesis will be what b is. Now 0.4 written as a fraction is actually 2/5. So it'd be 2/5, close your parenthesis, and then we would take it to, and then we have here the x power. Now, so then that means that we would take this to the x power. So this is the equation we're supposed to write. Now, when you actually write this out, it'll be y is equal to, we don't have to include the 1 because we know anything times 1 times anything will leave you with what you started with. So it'll be y equals 2/5, and then we would take that to the 5th power, to the x power. And so this is supposed to be your answer. Now, if you look here, this is exactly what we have. F of x, which we know represents y, is equal to 2/5 to the x power. And that's how we got this function. Now, if you want to check this just to be absolutely sure, you could press y equals and type in the formula. You have parenthesis 2 divided by 5, close the parenthesis, and take it to the x power, and then press graph. Now, if you notice, this is hitting every point on this graph would let you know that this is the perfect fit. And that's it. If you have any other questions, please let me know.